Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Change Your Payment Solution Without Impacting Your Customers. My name is Lisa Hazarjian. I'm a Director of Marketing Programs at Doxim and your host for this webinar. I'm joined today by Aaron Romo, Director of Solutions and Services for Utilitech at Doxim Company, as well as Megan Starnes from Louisville Water Company's Customer Service and Finance team. Before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone that all attendees will be in listen-only mode. So if you have any questions, please submit them via the Q&A section on the bottom of your screen. And if time permits, our speakers will be happy to answer them. You will also receive an email link to the recording of the webinar in a couple of days, and we encourage you to share it with your colleagues who couldn't attend. So with all of that covered, I'm going to pass it over to Erin and she'll get us started.
Thanks, Lisa. You want to get us going here? So today, thanks everybody, again for joining us today. We're glad that you're interested in the wonderful story that Louisville Water has to tell. They have, like you, probably come up against challenges in the industry, and we're really looking for the best solution. So going through their story today, I hope will answer a lot of your questions. If you could go on to the next page, Lisa. So I thought I'd get us started today with just getting you started with telling you a little bit about Utilitech, a Doxim company. So Utilitech has been around and focused on utilities since 2001. Utilitech has built its business really on the data management and understanding of the utility business practices in order to provide the right solutions to then enhance that customer communication to your end customer. So we will help you with strategies and solutions in order to make sure that your customer communication is where you need it to be. In 2019, Utilitech pursued being acquired by Doxim, which is a leading customer communication management company in the regulated industry. So utilities, health insurance, so on and so forth, anything that's regulated, Doxim has had a huge footprint in. They really wanted to get a foothold into the utilities market. So together, Doxim and Utilitech are now able to serve across the country with our multiple production facilities. So prior to the Doxim acquisition, Utilitech could only print out of Troy, Michigan, Detroit. We now have facilities in Indianapolis, Las Vegas, Birmingham, Alabama, and Phoenix, Arizona, I believe, are some of the new acquisition production facilities we now have available to us. So we're very excited about that partnership and continued forward motion that we can gain from becoming part of Doxim. Lisa, if you could move us on. All right, so here's a quick glimpse into a few of our clients. Again, we have got many more clients across the country, but this is really to show you we will work with all of our utility clients from East Coast to West Coast, North to South. We have the solutions, the services, and now the production facilities that you all are looking for to help promote your customer communication management. So today you're here to talk about how to change your payment solution without impacting your customers. But Utilitech and Doxim do offer a lot of other services, and we felt it would be remiss in us not touching on those. We offer your traditional print and mail services. Again, it's really backed by that data management philosophy that Utilitech has always had. How do we utilize your data that you have existing about your customers to enhance that communication? Your bill is your biggest touch point to your customer. So how do we provide you with solutions that hit every aspect of that customer journey? Part of what we do with that is build design technology. We have a build design methodology that we can take you through. Louisville Water did theirs a couple years ago. We help facilitate focus groups and really take into account what are your customers asking for? What are you trying to communicate to your customers? And how can we help you better enhance that messaging? Skipping over the middle two here, we offer a complete customer engagement package. So our entire platform is built on engaging your customers, from messaging to letters to special mailings and all of that, we've got you covered for the services that touch your customers. We offer, again, what you're going to hear about today is more of our e-billing and payment services. So how do we offer, those e-billing notifications, payment processing services? How do you offer ease of use for reconciliation, settlement, and of course, backed all of those services up is our data security. We take that very seriously. Your data is our data. We don't want to impact your customers and impact you. So we hope that you will enjoy your presentation today. All right, so today we're going to focus on our payment solutions, which is the electronic bill presentment and payment solutions. We offer of the full breadth of services for payment processing. We do offer an online self-service customer portal. We offer a guest pay, which is an unregistered payment method. So your customers do not have to register to pay. They can quickly make a payment and move on. Your CSRs can take payments on behalf of your customers. We offer a secure method to be able to do that on behalf of your registered customers. We can offer an IVR solution that you can take advantage of. We also offer kiosks, and those can be indoor or outdoor kiosks. We offer the e-bill and text notifications, as well as pay by text. And currently we are in design for offering a quick pay by email solution. So again, we're continuing to enhance those services really by listening to customers like Megan and Louisville Water Company as they're talking to their customers and trying to find out what do their customers need? What are they looking for? And what are the convenient channels? As we've gone and experienced this year with the COVID pandemic, I think it's changed a lot of people's viewpoints on what it is that's important. The bells and whistles are great, but do you have the basics that make your customers want to use the system, keep coming back, and don't call your call center for the extra costs that comes in along play? So I think that is now we can have Megan, introduce Megan to come and tell the story.
Hi, I'm Megan Starnes. I am a budget specialist at Louisville Water Company in the finance department. I'm actually in this role because I started at Louisville Water Company as a cashier. And then I moved to back office. And then when I was in the role of budget specialist is when we decided to change our payment vendor. And that was after CC&B, when we moved to CC&B in 2015. So that's kind of why I'm here. I've kind of seen the payments from beginning to end, and I know the process really well. So that's how I became a part of the project. An overview of Louisville Water Company. We were chartered by the state of Kentucky in 1854 and acquired by the city of Louisville in 1906. The city of Louisville is our only shareholder, but we are actually privately ran, which is a unique situation for a utility. We do serve nearly 1 million people in Louisville Metro, and we also have wholesale contracts outside of the city limits. We have treatment plants. 2 of them they are ranked as 2 of the top 18 in North America. We get our water from the Ohio River, and it's an abundant source for us. So we do not push regulating any usage or anything like that. We have the ability to supply 240 million gallons per day, and our average demand is 119 million gallons per day. Our peak demand is 152 million gallons per day. And we also have 96.7 million gallons of finished water storage. As I mentioned before, we implemented CC&B in 2015. We are on version 2.4 SP3 service pack, and we're upgrading to 2.7 in the next 18 to 24 months. When we moved to CC&B in 2015, all at the same time, we changed our phone system, we changed our payment system, and then we changed our customer care and billing system. So it was a bit crazy at that time, and we learned from our mistakes from that. So at that time, we had taken credit cards for over 20 years, and we actually have our credit cards set up to where the customer pays the fee to make their payment. after we went live, from the minute we went live, we had issues as far as set up, the way we had the accounts set up to take the payments. And then we realized with the differences between batch processing and real-time processing, and making that switch was very difficult for us, and we did not prepare ourselves for that. The payment vendor that we had, we really didn't have any proactive communication. So from go live, we felt like we were constantly drowning in issues and putting out fires, and we never felt like we were making any traction on that. And, you know, even when we did know what the problem was, or we're trying to find out, trying to work with that vendor, we got stopped a lot. You know, a lot of times we were told, we don't know, or, you know, that's not our issue. And so that was, you know, really from the beginning, we knew we made a mistake and that we needed to try to make a change. With this company, we didn't have a roadmap for future enhancements, and we had a lot of complaints from the IVR. And I can remember being in the front office, and customers, our lines were longer than they had ever been. Customers were in line on our phone system, sitting on our IVR on hold for an hour at a time, and they're, you know, had time to drive to our office, stand in line there and show us, you know, look how long I've been on the phone, and look how long I've been on hold, or just a lot of complaints coming from there. So if you saw our social media in 2015, it was definitely a different story than what we're seeing today. So this is kind of what our customer satisfaction looked like, and it was not good at all. You know, as I mentioned before, you know, that's kind of what started us with having to manage our social media, because we had such bad reviews, such bad comments on there, and we were a news story multiple times, and not for a good reason. So, you know, this is where I say that we had to learn from a lot of mistakes, and Utilitech really took us through all that. When we decided that we wanted to change our payment vendor, Utilitech was already our bill print vendor. So we knew that they were a reliable partner. We knew that they had the roadmap for features that we were going to want. And we knew they had great customer service. And, you know, in 2015, when we were looking for a payment vendor, you know, they weren't quite ready. So when we brought it back, the idea back to them, I can remember them saying to just bring a list of what it is that you're looking for, and complaints that you have, and problems that you face. And I had several pages of, you know, can you make sure that we're not going to get double payments? Can you make sure that people are getting confirmation numbers, things like that? You know, are we going to balance? Are we going to be able to reconcile our bank account and our GL account? And, you know, I don't know if they understood like the magnitude of the problems that we were having, but they were ready to take on the task. So the new solution that we found with them, we first went live with the online guest pay. And as Aaron mentioned before, the customers do not have to have a login for that. One of the biggest complaints that we had with our system was that, you know, you had to have a password and a login, and, you know, that didn't always work for people. So then they were having to call into our call center. So now if a customer just wants to make a payment, they can use their account number and their zip code and make a payment that way, and there's no passwords and no logins. We redesigned the workflow of the IVR, and we also implemented a kiosk into our lobby. And that was kind of phase 2 of this project. And part of phase 1 also included enhanced reporting. So coming from an end user, the enhanced reporting was major for me. It was interactive. I felt like, you know, I was able to sit down with Utilitech when we were going through this process and, you know, tell them what it is that I want. And it felt like they were just customizing our needs. And that's just the kind of company that they are. They are listening to their customer, especially a customer who has been through so much. And I know when, you know, we had these talks with them, we would say, we're sorry, but we have to get it right this time. And they understood how important that was for us. And even so with that, with the testing of the guest pay and the IVR, I know that we asked for extra time to test because we wanted to make sure we got it right, and they were perfectly fine with that. They told us, you know, do whatever it is that you need, and, you know, let us know any issues that we come across, because they wanted it to be right there with us. The kiosk in the lobby is a huge thing for us. And especially now, you know, when we were implementing the kiosk, we had no idea what this year was going to look like. And now, you know, being able to offer that transaction where you don't have to be face to face with a customer, or, you know, a customer, if they're not comfortable being face to face with one of our employees, that's a major thing for them. So some other things that we are moving forward with because of the success of the project that we have already put in place, we're putting our donation platform to where customers can make donations to our Louisville Water Foundation along with their water payment. So just one transaction, they're able to add in money, and then Utilitech is going to, you know, direct those funds to our Louisville Water Foundation. Our Louisville Water Foundation helps customers make payments to their water and wastewater bills. And that's, and again, something that we didn't realize how needed it was going to be this year, but we were glad that we had already got the ball rolling on that. We're also going to AMI soon. So we're going to have the Water Smart portal. And this is going to be a single sign-on, again, just one password and one login for these customers to be able to go on there, view their bills, make payments, look at their usage. So it's for a utility, I think that is a major thing because, you know, we don't always have the most high-tech, you know, portals, and but now, you know, with the help of Utilitech, we're going to be able to move in that direction. We're also going to be able to take retail cash payments soon, where right now in our city, we do have a lot of cash paying customers, and we have one authorized location downtown, and then we have another authorized location that's about 15-20 miles from here for customers to make cash payments. So here pretty soon, our cash paying customers are going to be able to go into retail stores and pay their utility bill without worrying that the payment's going to get lost, or, you know, it's going to take 3-4 days to get there. Because right now, you know, there are places that will take, you know, advertise that they'll take utility payments, but they're not authorized through us, so we can't guarantee that that payment's going to make it to us when that they do accept those. We're also going to be able to take SMS payments to where, you know, our customers can get a text message and be able from that text message make their water payment. So just making it easier and easier for them to get their payment to us. And as I mentioned before, just to speak more on the type of company that Utilitech is, you know, they are truly your partner in the process. You know, from the reporting tools to the continued support after the implementation, they were accommodating to us while we found some issues that we needed to work through. And it was a major issue, and it was an issue that we had even before we went to Utilitech. We would have not, as a company, found out what it is that was causing these problems if Utilitech wasn't there to help us through it. So like I said, it wasn't even their issue or an issue on their side, but they were able to ask us the right questions, to do the double checks with us on, you know, these were payments that they were taken, and they were getting notifications that we got the payment, but we weren't getting the payment. So we were missing payments. So once we got that worked through, that was a long process to get the coding and everything changed. But they went ahead and they set up a temporary solution. And every single day we were getting reports. Here's the payments that you should have gotten. Did you get them? And then, we were comparing them. So they had a whole team of people that were working on these issues while on the back end they were getting them fixed. And so, it wasn't their fault, but they treated it as if it was their fault. And they, really helped us through that. And so they're just really proactive when issues arise. And one of my favorite stories when I talk about Utilitech and what a good company they are and partner that they are is, a customer had made a payment, but he had gotten cut off, when he was hanging up the phone, so he didn't get a confirmation number. He wasn't sure if the payment went through or not, so he called our call center. Our call center said, sorry, we don't see the payment, but he looked at his bank and the payment had hit his bank account. So just kind of one of those one-off things where, a glitch happened and his payment didn't make it to us. So he had already called us. Well, I got an email from Utilitech that said, hey, it looks like we got this payment, but it didn't come through to you all, how do we want to proceed with it? So I called the customer to confirm, like, hey, did you try to make a payment? And he said, I did. And I called your call center and they said they didn't see it. So I was actually about to go to the bank, get confirmation that I made the payment, and then I'm going to have to go stand in line at Louisville Water Company to show you all that I made the payment. And he said, you just saved me so much time out of my day. And so it wasn't me, it was Utilitech. And so, but to him, it was Louisville Water that helped him. So that was a really good experience that he had that hopefully, he is going to be able to, if he hears someone complaining about Louisville Water Company, he can say, well, here's this good experience that I had with them. So it makes our customer service look good. So it's just, Utilitech is just really good about, they treat your customers as if they're their customers and if they're the ones that they're going to go on their Twitter feed and talk about, but they're not, it's Louisville Water. So they've just been really good about that. So some stats from our project, since Go Live, we went Go Live in March of 2019. We collected over 31,000 payments in the first month and over $5 million. And our kiosk payments, sorry, I can't see it. The first month, we took over 600 kiosk payments. Our customer satisfaction improved greatly. We're getting a lot less calls on customers that are having problems with payments. We, for the first time since Go Live, were able to reconcile our bank deposits to the payments that were in our system, and a definite reduction of labor spent. I can say even for myself alone, I have to spend a lot less time looking at and talking about payments because they're right. And, the less research that we have to do, the less time I have to spend on it. So especially once we got through that issue where we had the issue on our side, once we got that completed and fixed, everything runs really smooth now. And so much to the point that when something is out of balance, I'm able to find it right away with the comprehensive reporting. And, with the communication that I have with Utilitech, I know that if I have a question on a deposit, I can email them and I know I'm going to get an answer that day, or at least an acknowledgement that day that they're looking into it. And their team is always on top of it.
All right, thank you, Megan. So now I think we have some time. We can open it up for questions. If you haven't already, go ahead and submit any questions that you might have in the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. And Megan or Aaron will be happy to answer it. So I'll give you guys a minute. We'll see what we've got. Okay, so I'm going to kick things off with the first question here. How did you convert your auto pay customers?
Our auto pay actually is not through Utilitech. It is through our bank vendor. But I think that might come with our with the smart portal that customers will be able to do auto pay through there.
And let's see, did you have to do any configuration changes to your CC&B in order to implement Utilitech solution?
Not that I know of, other than just a few of the files that we got back and forth, but no changes to the CC&B.
All right, awesome. And next one is, please talk about the operation of the kiosk. How do you remove cash and checks, and how do you balance the machine?
So the kiosk is actually really cool with checks. The customer gets their check back, so that it's just doing an ACH transaction with the scan line at the bottom. So a customer can put it in, it saves the image, and then they get the check back. So we don't have to do anything with the checks. And then those payments actually go right into the same file as if someone is calling and making an ACH payment over the phone. So they all blend together, so it's not a separate file or tender in CC&B. And with the cash, there is a cassette in the back. And at the end of the day, we can run a report and it'll tell us how much should be in there. And then you can clear the cassette and then balance it that way. And then you can also get those same reports you can get it on the back of the kiosk, or you can get it on your reporting through there's a few different places you can get it through the AdComp reporting, and then also the Utilitech reporting.
Thank you, Megan. Next question is, how many kiosks do you have? Is Louisville looking to install more?
We only have one right now. I believe they have talked about getting another one due to COVID-19.
Okay, great. And how did your customers react to the change? Did they notice anything?
They really didn't. You know, in this business, it's kind of no news is good news. A lot of people don't call and say, thank you for taking my water payment. So we really just quit hearing the complaints is what we heard more than anything.
This one might be for Aaron. Does Utilitech offer an auto pay method?
Yes, we actually do. So Utilitech can take over your auto pay solution by just using our registered payment site, which your customers can go in, store a payment method in their wallet, and then set up recurring payments to be done on the due date for your bill. So it's a bit different from the traditional ACH auto pay method that a lot of our utilities have been used to over the years, but it does give your customers a lot more flexibility. Through our online system, you can set up ACH or credit card or debit cards to be used for auto pay.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah.
So next one is, how often did Louisville Water meet with Utilitech throughout the implementation? Describe the project process.
There were some points of the project that we were meeting at least once a week. And that was, you know, it just kind of, it would vary on what we had going on. But even during testing, we would meet with the smaller groups, you know, the more focused on the task that we were doing. So they would do different breakouts. And then we had a big meeting once a week.
Erin, do you want to add anything to the project process?
I mean, just, I think that we just took this as a launch like we would anything else. This is truly a consultation process, and this was a solution that needed to fit Louisville Water's requirements. They were going through some specific customer issues, some specific system issues for their solution that they had prior, and we wanted to ensure that we covered all of those bases. We have been lucky to be a longtime partner of Louisville Water. And they just have always been that great customer who's the feedback, the back and forth, being able to really derive that custom solution without it being a customized, completely different than what we do. We've been with Megan and Tanya and the team since the beginning. And I remember with their previous payment provider, just the headache of reconciliation and settlement. And I think the foremost thought that I said with the team, they have to be able to reconcile and settle when we get done with this project. Like the system, could do anything it wants. You can turn it on its head, but they have to be able to reconcile and settle. It was extremely important to us because that was their biggest headache and it caused the biggest impact to their teams. So, again, our methodology is to listen to what it is that you're needing to fix, you wanting to enhance, and what you don't want to change, right? And we can work with a solution that fits all of those needs. But you know what? I think it's really important, Megan, you didn't touch nearly enough, I don't think, on the your reconciliation and settlement deposit process. Could you kind of walk through for the team, for the attendees, your process and what you had to go through maybe before and then now after? I think that seems to be a common theme in the industry.
Yeah. So I took over this job. It was September of 2015. And so we went live in March of 2015. So from March to September, it was not balanced. So I got thrown into it just really in the trenches. So I had to really start breaking down just every day, one day at a time, to try to get it to where it was right. And we were missing a lot of payments in the system, in CC&B, and then returns caused a major issue. So, really there was no process before. It was just, keep trying numbers and seeing if you can get them, somewhat right. And then, you would get it right. And then you'd have a bunch of double payments one day and they'd just throw everything all off. So now I am able to just run a monthly report or, whatever time frame I'm trying to balance from Utilitech, and then run it in SQL for CC&B and just compare the transaction IDs. And then I can, with Utilitech, having the funding group ID numbers listed on their report, I can match that to our bank deposits. So because what I'm looking for, because we've always had so many system issues, are the payments in CC&B, and then is the money in the bank? So I kind of have to do it both ways to make sure that they're all there and that it's all right.
Megan.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's all of the questions that we had in our queue. So I'd like to thank you, Erin and Megan, and thank you to everyone who joined us today. Of course, if you'd like to learn more about our solutions, please let us know, reach out to us. We are more than happy to chat with you individually and make sure that we have a solution that fits your needs. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon.
Great. Lisa, it looks like we do have a late question. Somebody's asked if we can find the recording.
Okay, yes. Laura asked this question. So we will be sending out a recording link to all of you who attended and everybody that registered. It should be available within the next day or two. So expect to receive an email from us with a link to the recording. And then feel free to, share that with anyone and reply back to us if you want to talk some more about what your needs are. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Mhm. Bye.